Okay, so just, yeah, I mean, I think I had a conversation in Mick's shop when he talked about this event that he thought about doing, which I think was the Helvellyn Triathlon, which is a sort of an easy peasy sort of half Ironman race. And I just, you know, and at that time I knew that as a club we had probably, you know, 10 or maybe 15 people that were looking at already doing the outdoor. So I just suggested to Mick that maybe, you know, I know that there's, you know, we've got such good people in the club that will want to be involved in something, that maybe actually if we pick the Outlaw as something that we do as a charity and whatever, that the club can get involved with that, because we've already got a lot of people doing it. But also then, you know, maybe that's something that, you know, for Mick, it's going to be a fairly big challenge. You know, but obviously, as we talked about this, if it was something that other people were going to do to raise money for the foundation, it sort of became fairly obvious that really Mick had to do it, really, and somehow, I dare say, we'll get around it, I guess. So, you know, that's how it all started, I guess, with the Outlaw, which is, you know, which is the big sort of event for this year. And then speaking to the organisers, we managed to get some additional charity places. So I think at this stage we've got somewhere in the region of about 42 or 43 individuals or teams sort of going to be racing. And then we started to talk about then maybe we get sort of special kit made up, and sort of, you know, there will be people here that perhaps aren't members of the club or that want to raise money for the charity that will be racing. That it would be great if everybody who's out there supporting would know exactly who's racing for us, so that, you know, as soon as somebody runs past, if, you know, if it's so-and-so's family, that person can be cheered on, and that's got to lift everybody. So for us, that sort of, I guess that's how it all started, and the foundation sort of took hold, really. So our big event for this year is the Outlaw. We're also looking at doing a sort of an after-party Outlaw, probably the 14th of July, I think, is the date we sort of pinpointed. So that may well be something like a charity auction again. You know, we've got to keep the whole focus here around the fact that we're trying to raise money for the foundation. So it may be a charity auction, but again, you know, a big focus of that when we talked about it was that we want it to be a celebration of the fact that we've had loads of people do the Outlaw, and it's not just about those people that will be on the day racing. You know, we've got our juniors, you know, they're going to come along and man a feed station. You know, there's going to be family members that will be doing the same, family members that will be cheering on. So there's going to be a lot of people involved in this that, again, if we can have some sort of, you know, after Outlaw party and then again raise money for the foundation, that's going to be great. So I guess that's where it's all sort of developed to now. And then just talking a little bit about the fact that I think, you know, the Outlaw, any Ironman is a fairly big undertaking for most people. So one of the things that we then wanted to do was to make sure that we could support people doing that. So we sort of put on some training sessions, if you want to call it that. So we've got in April, 29th of April, we've got a bike ride we've got planned. At the moment, it looks like the bike course specifically will change from last year. They're talking about just doing 2 laps this year. So if it is 2 laps, we'll end up doing sort of 1 lap. Again, we're going to use this place as our base, really. So we'll probably start from here, do 1 lap of the bike route, starting at Holme Pierrepont from here and stuff. Then 11th of May, we've got a swim session. So on our normal swim night, we're going to allocate some of that to people doing the Outlaw, so we can have a longer swim. Maybe even look at if we can get some contribution from the Holme Pierrepont to allow people to either swim cheaply or for nothing, so that the money they pay can go into the charity. Then in May again, we've got another bike ride planned. In June, we've got a bike ride planned again, which I think will probably be 4 weeks before, ideal to literally do the full course. So for anyone who's doing the bike leg, you know, we'll probably end up doing both laps with a short run off it, just to make sure that people are ready. 8th of June, we've got another swim session. 22nd of June, another swim session. So that's probably about 10 days before the event. So, you know, at that point, people should be starting to taper down, etc. So we've got those sort of things lined up, because I think for me it's important that if we're going to do this, that we support it. So all that is going to be free to everybody just to come along. Anyone who's doing, you know, the Outlaw for the charity, and I guess as well, anybody that wants to come and ride a bike for 56 mile or 60 mile or 70 or 80 mile and feels they can do that, then just come along and join in. And if it means we've got to have various groups of people just so that people can come along and join in and ride a bike, we'll get people here just so that people can toot around and finish here with a few beers and a meal or something. So, you know, really important for us that we're supporting people doing this throughout their campaign, I guess. And then, as I say, I think we've highlighted the 14th of July where we're looking at holding this After Outlaw Bash. Probably be, I think, in some field in Eakring, maybe with a little bit of a tent and various bits and bobs. So again, you know, the more people that can support that, the better. And it is, you know, again, always going back to the thing that it's all about raising money for the foundation that we can then sort of pass on. So that's our event for this year, but I think it was, you know, and again, once we started these discussions, it was fairly clear to us that it wasn't something we wanted to be just a one-off thing. We didn't want to just say, right, let's get all these 40 or 50 people involved, etc. You know, we were really passionate. We wanted something to happen year on year. So our thoughts are that anyone who doesn't do the Outlaw this year has to do it next year. So that was no, okay, that's probably good. Or anybody that does the swim this year has to do the bike next year or the run. Maybe we just swap it about a bit. But now I think next year we're thinking that we're going to do a cycle sportif, which will then basically run every year from there on in. And that will be the sort of, I think, the main thing for us year on year. But it doesn't mean that we then don't do something like the Outlaw or maybe something different along those sort of lines. But certainly a sportif will be something that next year we'll look at. And again, we'll try and incorporate a lot of those areas that I guess were important to Karen and stuff. So maybe we started at Calverton, maybe we cycle all over here, there, everywhere, etc. So that's something I think that will continue year on year. We'll get kit made up for that. So really important for us that, you know, that although we're here today and we're thinking about 1st of July, Outlaw, etc., it's important that we keep the focus on not just this year, but the year after and the year after that, etc. So it is something we see as being, you know, very, very long term. You know, we've got trustees involved that will be sat down, you know, making proper decisions on where the money should be spent, etc. So they'll, you know, all of that is going to be happening. So that's our big event this year. And I think Janie's now going to talk a little bit about where we're going to spend the money on and other bits.